Hello and welcome to my channel, Distinctively Handcrafted. My name is Priscilla and I would like to thank all my new subscribers for coming to check me out and all my returning subscribers for spending some time with me. Alright everyone, so today we are here to work on the tutorial for my asymmetrical wrap that has an arm slit, and the arm slit helps you to close it up and keep it in place without too much bunching and shifting. Okay, so you don't have to worry about getting a fancy shawl pin or anything like that. So it is very beautiful, easy to wear, and you can work it up in so many different yarns and colors. So I am very excited to share this pattern with you all today, and I am also calling it the Vivian Wrap. Let's go ahead and get to the materials we'll be needing today. We'll of course need a pair of scissors, a yarn needle to weave in your ends. We'll be working with a 9mm hook. I do suggest 2 stitch markers in different colors. That way you will be able to know which side you are increasing on and which side you're decreasing on when we begin working on the wrap. Okay, you will also need some yarn. Now the yarn choice, actually the yarn choice can be whatever you have on hand, whatever you would like to work with. If this is a winter season or a colder season for you, maybe you want to use a thicker yarn. If it's a warmer season, maybe you want to use a thinner yarn. And with this pattern, you can totally do that. I would just recommend changing your hook according to the yarn you're using. Now, in this tutorial, I am going to be using a number 4 worsted weight yarn. This is 100% acrylic. In this particular skein, it has 252 yards, and this is the I Love This yarn in the print, and the colorway is called let me see, Paint Party. Now I did want to give a big shout out and thank you to Denise over at Black Ribbon Studio. She gifted me this yarn and I am so appreciative of it, and I love this yarn. I have been holding on to it for quite a while to find just the right project, and I do believe this is the right project. Alright, so thank you again so much to Denise at Black Ribbon Studio. I will have her channel down below in case you would like to check her out, because she is definitely awesome and talented as well. Alright, so again about the yarn, I was going to say this is a number 4 weight, but I'm using a 9mm, and that is because the stitch that we're going to use is a thicker stitch, and I want my yarn to drape a little bit easier. And so if you want the same kind of drapiness with whatever yarn you decide to use, consider going up a few hook sizes. This recommends a 5.5 and I'm at a 9, so I'm at like 3.5 sizes bigger. So you may want to consider doing 3 to 4 sizes larger than what the yarn band recommends on whatever yarn you decide to use. Okay, again, the amount of yarn will depend on what size yarn you're using. If you're using a thinner yarn, you're more likely going to need more yarn, and if you're using a thicker yarn, you'll probably need a little less. Alright, but I am going to estimate between 1,200 yards to 1,500 yards. I did use a worsted weight yarn on the original one I designed, and I used a 6mm hook, and I ended up using 1,500 yards. This one I only have 1,200 and about 1,250 yards, so I am hoping to be able to accomplish what I want with that amount. And with the bigger hook, I do believe we'll get there. Alright, so and again, it all depends on how long you want to make yours. So definitely make sure this is going to be a larger project, so definitely make sure you have enough yarn on hand before you get started, or be willing to work with multiple colors of yarn, maybe in the same weight, to allow yourself to stretch it out. Okay. Alright, so that is what I want to mention about that. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to push these materials to the side. We'll be using those a little later. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you can either chain a number of stitches that will yield the let's see, the length of your wrap. And what I mean is from your waistline to your shoulder is where I measured mine. So I just worked a foundation half double crochet until I got the length that I wanted. Okay, and the length you're looking for is going to be from your waistline to your shoulder. All right, so you can either go ahead and chain an amount for that, or you can work a half foundation half double crochet for that. Okay, just work it until you get it long enough. And I am going to be using an even number of stitches for this particular yarn and hook. I will be working with 60 stitches. Okay, so make sure you have an even number of stitches when you get done chaining yours, and also remember to include your turning chain so that you have an even number of stitches when you are finished. All right, so that is totally up to you depending on the yarn, the hook that you're using. You may need more or less than what I'm using. If you want to use increments of 10 to give you a better idea, so if you're using a thinner yarn, depending on how thin, so if you're going from I'm at a number 4, if you're going to a number 3 yarn, instead of doing 60, maybe you do 70. Okay, so for example about that, if you're using a thicker yarn, you're using a number 5 weight yarn, instead of doing 60, maybe you start with 50 stitches and see if that gives you the length from your waistline to your shoulder that you desire. Okay, you can always add more or less. This pattern is not affected by the number of stitches. Okay, so you're definitely safe there. All right, so once you have changed your number of chains that you feel is the correct length for you, then go ahead and work a half double crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then all the way down the number of chains that you have made, so that all of your chains are now half double crochet stitches. All right, so once you do that, go ahead and meet me back. I'm going to work on my half double crochet foundation crochets, which will give us the same thing. We're just doing it in a different way, and then I will meet you back to show you what to do next. All right, and I made it back. So I have my 60 half double foundation crochet stitches completed. Now if you were working chains, then you would have made your chain as long as you would like it to be, and then you would have went back into your chain to work half double crochets across, and then that will make you in the same place as I am. All right, so if you have not put half double crochets in your chains, then go ahead and do that all the way across, and then you'll be ready to start on the next step. All right, so all we're going to be doing now is we are going to just chain 1 and turn. All right, and these first 10 stitches are going to be a bit of a rib. We're going to do a ribbing look for the first 10 stitches before we get into the stitch pattern for the body of the wrap. And what we're going to do is we're going to be working in the 3rd loop of our half double crochets. So if you, let me just take this out so you guys can see. All right, so if you see that on the camera, you see the V, and the V is normally where we put our stitches into. So that's the top view of it, and remember we turn, so now we're looking at the back view of it, and you can see there's actually a 3rd loop that is created by the yarn over that you do from your half doubles before you create the stitch, and that is the loop that we're going to be working into. What it does is it forces the V to the front of your work, and it gives the nice braided or knit look onto the front of the work, and that will give us the ribbing that we're looking for. As we turn back and forth, it will appear on either the front or the back side of your work. Okay, so that's going to give us the ribbing that we're looking for these first 10 stitches. And actually we are going to make this first 10 our increase side. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and work, there's that third loop. What we're going to do is we're going to work 2 half double crochets under that third loop for that first stitch only, because we're going to make this our increase side. Okay, so once you have made those 2 stitches, you can go ahead and grab a stitch marker. So I'm going to use the dark pink stitch marker, and I'm going to mark that first stitch so I can remember that is the first stitch I worked into, as well as this is the increase side of my work. All right, so I'm going to mark that with the dark pink to know that's my increase side, and I've done 2 stitches in that first stitch. So now we need to work 8 more to give us our 10 for the ribbing. So here's 1. I'm just gonna, you guys can see that third loop, right? Because it's a little bit awkward for me. So we're working into that third loop there. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right, so that's where you're going to put your stitches at, and you're just going to work 8 more of those. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, so that should give us a total of 10. So if you want to go back and count, so we had those 2 stitches in that one, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Okay, so we have our first 10 stitches for our ribbing, and now what we're going to do is we're going to be working under the V as normal, and we're going to be doing the brioche stitch. All right, so the brioche crochet stitch starts off with 2 normal half double crochets. So yarn over, insert your hook. We're going into the under the V now as normal. So we're going to do a half double in that stitch, and then we're going to do a half double in the very next stitch. All right, so all you have right now is those 2 half double crochets. 1, 2. Okay, so the next thing we need to do for the brioche stitch is we're going to work back into that very first, under that very first half double we made. So here is the actual stitch. We're actually going to work back into that under that V that we made the stitch in, if that makes sense. Okay, so right there where my finger is. All right, so the stitch is sitting on top, and then we're going to go right under there and work into that. Okay, now although we are doing half double crochets for the brioche stitch, when we go back and work under there, we're not going to yarn over first. All right, so we're just going to turn our hook, and we're just going to insert it right under that first half double we made. We are going to yarn over now and pull up a loop. Okay, now we're going to go into the front of the second stitch that we made, or the very next stitch. Okay, we're going to go into the very next stitch. Now this time we are going to yarn over, and we're going to work a half double in there. All right, so yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Now you have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. Okay, and that is how we are going to work our brioche stitch. All right, so I am going to go ahead and do the next stitch. So now, if you remember, when we did the original first 2, right, we went under the first one, and then we skipped ahead and went into the next stitch. Now we're going to go back and work under that second stitch. Okay, under that loop there. All right, or I should say under that space. So we're going to go under there, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay, now we're going to work into the very next empty stitch. Okay, we're going to yarn over as to do a half double, insert our hook under the V. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 4 loops on our hook, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. All right, so that is how we are going to continue with the brioche stitch all the way across, except we leaving the last 11 stitches unworked to do our ribbing. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys this stitch a couple more times. If you need to go back and watch how I did the first stitch to get started again, please go ahead and do that. But I'm just going to do a couple more of these so you guys can see what I'm doing and get the hang of this, and then I will finish off camera and leaving the last 11 stitches unworked. Okay, so I'm going to go into, and if you're not sure where you are, you can see that these stitches are unworked. This stitch here is the last one with something in it. So the one right behind there is the one we now need to work into to begin our brioche stitch. All right, so we're going to work under that stitch and we're going to pull up a loop. Okay, then we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch to do our half double, and we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 4 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4. All right, so we're going to go into the stitch behind the last one that was worked. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, go into this next empty stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. All right, let's do a couple more, and then I think you guys got the hang of it. If you need a little bit more time, please go ahead and back up just a little bit to where I got started with this, and then you can review it from there. All right, but let's go ahead and do a couple more, and then we can move on to the next step. All right, so we're going to go into the stitch that behind the last one that was worked. We're going to go under that into that space. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over as to do a half double. We're going to go into the very next stitch that is unworked. We're going to insert our hook. We're going to pull up that loop. We have 4 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4. All right, let's do one more together, and then I think you guys got it. All right, so we have our half double crochet stitch here that we have completed. So we're going to go into the stitch behind it and work in that space under that stitch. And we're going to go in that space, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now we're going to yarn over and work into the next empty space, and we're going to insert our hook under the V. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 4 loops on our hook, so now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4. All right, so this is what we're looking like so far with the progress that we have made. And now what we're going to do is we are going to continue on down until we have 11 stitches. We need to work until we get to the last 11 stitches. All right, so I am going to go ahead and continue on, and then I will come back when I'm up to getting close to here and show you what to do next. All right everyone, and I made it back. So I have one more stitch to complete, so I'm gonna go into that space before the last stitch created and then pull up a loop. I'm gonna yarn over, go into the next stitch, the next empty stitch, pull up a loop, 4 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through all 4. All right, so now I have 11 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 11 stitches left. If you did that foundation half double and you did your 3 chains here to get started, that is going to count as a stitch. So that is what that is looking like there. All right, so we have 11 stitches left, and this is going to be our decrease side. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over and do our half double crochets in that 3rd loop there. Okay, so there's the V at the top, and now we're going to be working in that 3rd loop When you're working in rows, that third loop will always be in front of you, so you don't really have to search for it. It's just right there in your face. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and yarn over and insert our hook into that third loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3. We're gonna do that 8 more times, so that's 1. We're gonna have a total of 9. All right, so there's 1. Oops. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so you should have 2 stitches left. So this is a stitch and this is a stitch. All right, so we are going to work these 2 stitches together for a decrease, and that is going to give us that bias look. So we'll be decreasing on this end and increasing on the other end. Now you can either choose a different colored stitch marker to know that's the side you're decreasing on, or you can just not have a stitch marker and say, okay, well, this side doesn't have a stitch marker, so that means this is the side I need to decrease on. All right, so you do need to make sure that you leave 11 stitches so that you can on that 10th stitch of our ribbing, you are actually doing 2 stitches together to make that 10th stitch. Okay, and that gives you the decrease in. All right, so what we're going to do to decrease is we're going to yarn over. We're going to go into that third loop. Now this first the first one we're working is a little bit different than the rest because of how we got started, but it should get a little easier to identify as you go along. But that first stitch, we're going to go right into that third loop as usual. Oops. Okay, we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Now before we finish off, we want to go ahead and go into the next stitch. So we're going to yarn over, and I'm going to catch this loop right here. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we have 5 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 5, and that decreased those 2 stitches together. Okay, so then we're just going to chain 1 and turn. Okay, so if you need to mark that last stitch with your stitch marker to find it, you can do that as well. But if not, then just remember that this is your decrease side. All right, so now we're just going to work the 10 ribbing stitches. So we're going to find our third loop, which is right here. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that third loop, pull, and then finish our half double crochet just like that. Okay, and we're going to do that for a total of 10 stitches for our ribbing. So that's 2, here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and if you look, you can see that we have that braided look here on this side from the first row we did, and now from the row we just completed, it's on the other side. All right, so that is how our ribbing will look as we go along. Okay, and now what we're going to do, and also this is what the brioche stitch is looking like. So it has those yarn overs pushed on the front of the work or the opposite side that you're working on. So it is a very beautiful stitch, and it is very cozy as well. Now that we have completed our ribbing, the next thing we're going to do is work our brioche stitch. And remember, when we start our brioche stitch, we just need to do 2 half double crochets to get started, 2 plain half double crochet. So we're just gonna yarn over and go under the V for our first 2 half double crochets. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all 3. All right, that's our first half double, and we're going to make the second one. Okay, so now we have our 2 stitches to begin our brioche stitch. So remember, we need to go to the stitch behind, and we're working under the stitch. So it's like we're going into the same place that we went to make that first stitch. Okay, so right in here. All right, so we're going to just insert our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we're going to work in the next empty stitch, if that makes sense. All right, so we're going to skip over that one and work into this one. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4. All right, and it's going to be the same procedure all the way across until we get to the last 9 stitches to complete our ribbing. And it's 9 stitches because we are going to do 2 stitches in that last stitch. All right, so before we get into too much of that, let's go ahead and complete our brioche stitch across, and then I will meet you back to show you how to do the ribbing. Just make sure you continue your brioche stitch, leaving 9 stitches unworked to do the ribbing. All right, so we're just going to insert our hook under the space of the previous stitch. So here's the last one we worked, here's the previous one. We're going to go right under there, pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over, go into the next empty stitch there, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. All right, so we're just going to continue on with our brioche stitch all the way across. We're going to leave 9 stitches unworked, and that is where I will meet you to show you what to do next. All right, and I made it back. So as you can see, I have some stitches here unworked. I'm going to start with the one that I have marked and count from there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I actually need to work 1 more brioche stitch, and I know that's going into one of our rib stitches, but that is okay because we're going to put 2 stitches on the last one, giving us 10 stitches for the ribbing. All right, so we are doing an increase on one side and a decrease on the other side, and that is giving us that bias look. Okay, so let's go ahead and insert our hook into that stitch before, pull up a loop, yarn over and insert our hook into the stitch after, pull up a loop and yarn over and pull through all 4. All right, so now we have 9 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and now we're going to work into that 3rd loop, a half double crochet. Okay, so we're going to yarn over and do our half double into that 3rd loop, just like that, and that gives us our ribbing for these last 10 stitches here. Okay, we needed 9 though because we are going to increase in that last stitch, and that is what will give us the 10. All right, okay, so now we are working into that marked stitch, which is our last one, and this can be a little hard to see on this last one. So actually these 2 are what makes the V at the top, and then this one is the 3rd loop. Okay, so that is what we want to work into. It's a little hard to tell, but if you flip it to the front, you can see that V, this leg and this leg. So that would be the front leg, the back leg, and then this loop right behind it is that 3rd loop. As you work more rows of these, it's going to be easier to find. But if you need to put your stitch marker under both legs of the V, and then you'll know, okay, not under there, let me find the 3rd loop. All right, and then you can find that a little bit easier. So definitely use those stitch markers to your advantage. So now I'm just going to work a a half double there, and then one more half double in that same loop. Okay, and that gave us our increase, so we should now have 10 stitches. So you can kind of see how this one is leaning a little bit, so that was from the brioche. So now we're just going to count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. All right, so we have our 10 stitches for our ribbing, and you can see how it's giving us that shaping there on the end. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to chain one and turn, and then we're going to do our ribbing. So we're just going to work into that third loop for the 10 stitches now, because we made that 2 stitches in one, so we have our 10 stitches. So if you want, you can now go ahead and move your stitch marker. It is recommended that you do that, and like I was saying, you can just go ahead and grab both loops of that V, and then that way, you know, when you turn, you'll say, oh, it's easier to find that third loop in the back. Okay, so definitely use your stitch markers to your advantage, and that will help you along the way, at least until you can recognize it, because as you go along, you will definitely find it easier to recognize. Okay, so we are just doing our first 10 stitches for the ribbing, going through the third loop for each stitch, working those half double crochets. All right, so I'm going to count really quick and make sure I have 10. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and then we're going to begin our brioche stitch. So remember, you're starting off with the 2 just plain half double crochets. All right, then you go back to that first one, pull up that loop, and then you go into that next empty stitch there in front, yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, and then you just keep doing that same pattern all the way across, and then when you get to the other side, you're going to need to do that decrease. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and work this off camera. I'll show you how to do this decrease one more time, and then I think I can leave you guys for a little bit until we need to get to the next step. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work across until I get to 11 stitches. Okay, so when you're increasing, you want to work until you get to the last 9. When you're decreasing, you want to work until you get to the last 11. Okay, so I am going to come back and leaving 11 stitches left unworked for the decrease side, and I will show you how to do that one more time, and then I will give you the next instructions to keep going. All right, so just go ahead and work your brioche stitch, leaving 11 stitches unworked, and I will meet you right back. All right, so I'm coming up on my last few stitches here. Let's count and see. I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. So I need to go ahead and make one more brioche stitch just like that. Okay, so now I have 11 left, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and work under that third loop. So right there, I'm going to work my half double crochet ribbing under the third loop for 9 stitches. So there's 2 3 4 5 oops 6 7 8 and 9. All right, so you should have 2 stitches left. So here you can see there's the third loop for this one. If we find the top, we see our front leg, our back leg making the V, and this loop right here would be our third loop for that last stitch. Okay, so we are going to work these 2 stitches together to make our decrease. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook under the third loop of that first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then we're going to yarn over as if to do a half double. We're going to go into that last stitch under that third loop. Okay, so you have your V on top and the third loop right there. So you're going to go under that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all 5 of those loops Okay, that is how we're doing our half double decrease. All right, and as you can see, it is showing us that shaping there, giving us that biased look. So now we're just going to go ahead, chain 1 and turn, and then we'll work the 10 stitches of ribbing under that third loop. We'll do our first 2 plain half doubles to start off our brioche stitch. We'll continue our brioche stitch all the way down to the last 9 stitches, and then we'll work our ribbing under the third loop, and then in that 9th stitch we'll go ahead and put 2 stitches. Okay, so that'll give us the 10 and our increase on this side. All right, so that is what you're going to continue on to do for these next rows to keep in pattern, and you are going to do that until you get enough to cover one side of your body. So like from the middle of your chest area to your arm. Okay, so let's see, I think I usually wear that on the left side. For me, I'm right-handed, but I think I felt comfortable wearing it on having it on the left side. So this is going to be from the middle of your chest over to the left arm of your body, and that is how many rows you want to work. So you just pick this up and put it to the middle of your chest, and then see how many how farther you need to go so that it covers for that portion of your body. Okay, and then once you get it wide enough to get to your arm, then you're going to come back for instructions on how to do your arm slit. Okay, because we will be once we complete the wrap, I'll show you how to wrap it in a way where you have the sleeve slit going through your arm, and then it will keep that wrap in place. Okay, making it more of kind of like between a wrap and a poncho, because it'll give you the easiness of a poncho, but you'll be able to have it just cover as a wrap as well. All right, so that is what the next instructions are. So just continue in patterning. Remember, you're going to be increasing on the side with your stitch marker that you had in place, and you'll be decreasing on the opposite side. And I showed you guys how to both increase and decrease. Remember, the increase side, you're going up, you're doing the brioche stitch to the last 9 stitches, and on the decrease side you're working until the last 11 so that you can decrease the last 2 stitches together. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I'll have the instructions on the camera, that way you can pause if you need to, or take a note of it, and that way you'll be able to continue on in pattern until you get wide enough to put in your arm slit. All right, so once you think you have enough to make it from the center of your body to your arm, then you want to make sure you're ending off on the decrease row, so that when you're working back up, you're working back up towards the increase row, if that makes sense. Okay, so you have just finished a decrease, then you're going to chain 1 and turn, and then you'll be starting to work back up. And I want you to when you've just finished that decrease and you chain 1 and turn, then you want to pause working and you want to come back to the video so that I can show you how to work that arm slit. Okay, that's where I'm going to meet you back at, when I have it wide enough from my chest to my armhole, and when I'm on the row that I've just finished decreasing and I'm getting ready to work my way back up towards the increases. All right, so once you have that completed, please come back and meet me to see what to do next. All right, and I made it back, so I am where I need to be. I have it wide enough to meet from the middle of my chest to my arm, and I am getting ready to work back up from, I just completed the decrease, so I'm getting ready to work back up to the increase side. Okay, And this is important because we are now ready to create our arm slit, and the increase side should fall on the top of the wrap. Okay, so that is why that is important. And let's see, so you can see as you've been working along, you can see the shaping now a little bit better. You have your increase here, your decrease side here. And what we're going to do next is we are going to keep in pattern. We're going to work our first 10 stitches in our ribbing. Then we're going to do our brioche stitch up until we get to stitch 20. So we're going to work 20 stitches of the brioche, and we're going to stop there, and then I'll show you how to create the arm slit. Okay, so go ahead and work your 10 stitches of ribbing coming from your decrease side, and work your first 20 stitches of your brioche stitch. Now if you are not following me exactly with the same yarn and hook, what you'll need to do is you'll need to go ahead and lay this over your body, and then pinch where your arm, not right under your arm, but you want to give a little bit of space, so that if you're wearing like maybe a sweater underneath or a shirt, that you'll have room to put your arm in where it won't be so tight. But you'll want to lay this over your shoulder, and then try to figure out what is enough stitches for you. So you'll just like lay this at your shoulder, and then let's say your arm is like right here, then you'll just kind of grab it and pinch, and then maybe count the stitches to see how many you need to leave empty, or you can count up and see how many you need to work before you get to that stitch. Or you could just quickly place a stitch marker there and then work up until you get to that stitch, and then leave the rest of the stitches unworked and come back to the video so that I can show you how to leave that arm slit open. Alright, so hopefully that makes sense, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to work in pattern until I get to stitch 20. And if you are using a different yarn and hook, then make sure you try it on, just lay it over your body and pinch it in the spot that is comfortable for you under your arm. Alright, so go ahead and do that, and I will meet you right back. Alright, and I made it back. So I worked up the 10 stitches of ribbing, and then I worked another 20 of the brioche, leaving these stitches unworked. What we're going to do now is you want to count where your ribbing ends, and remember we only need 9 stitches for this side because we are going to increase in the last stitch. So let's count over 9 stitches. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Alright, so all of these stitches right here are what we need to chain for, and we will also be joining in this stitch right before that 9th stitch of ribbing. Alright, so if you want to if you have another stitch marker around, you can probably mark that so you don't have to recount. So this is where we want to connect, and this is also where we need to count our stitches to see how many chains we need to make. Alright, so we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13, and I'm counting the V's at the top to make it easier. 14 15 16 17 18 19. Alright, so I want to go ahead and chain up 19 chains. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do 19 chains, and in this marked stitch we're going to yarn over and do a half double right into that stitch to join it together. So make sure you go through the loop on your hook as well to finish off that half double. And now I'm just going to take this out because we don't need it there anymore. And now what we're going to do is we're going to complete the rest of our ribbing, remembering to do our increase at the end. Alright, so we're just going to go through that third loop, do some half doubles in the third loop. There's 1 2 3, oops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, find that third loop. Here it is. 9, and we're going to work one more into that same stitch. 10. Okay, so now we chain 1 and turn. Alright, so this is our arm slit here, and what we're going to do is we're going to first work our 10 stitches of ribbing. So there's 1. Oops, get some more yarn. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now if you are using stitch markers, remember to move your stitch marker up. I can tell now that this is the increase side based on the shaping, so I don't need my stitch markers anymore, but if you still do, that is perfectly fine. It does help you to find that last stitch as well, so it is up to you. Alright, so now that we've done our ribbing, what we're going to do is I like to work in the back bumps of the chain. It's up to you, but what we're going to do is we're going to be working into the chain now, and we're going to do our first 2 half double crochets as normal to start off that brioche stitch. Okay, I'm just going into the back bumps of those so that it has a nice that braided chain at the edge of it, gives it that nice look. Alright, so what we're going to do is, since we're working in the chain, is we're just pretty much going to go into the same spot that we made that stitch. So the stitch is sitting on top, and then we're going to go right in that space underneath, and we're going to go right into that stitch. Oops. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over, and we're going to go into the next empty chain. I'm working under the back bumps. Okay, we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 4 loops on our hook. We're yarning over and pulling through all 4. Alright, so that is the start of our brioche stitch. Now we need to find that stitch behind it, behind this one we just finished off, right? And we're going to go into that space under, we're going to go into the space under that half double. We're just going to go right into there, yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over, go into the next back bump of the chain, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 4. Alright, so we're just working that brioche stitch across the chain. It is a little bit tighter since it is a chain instead of a stitch, but we can get through that, right? No problems. So just go ahead and continue to work your brioche stitch across the chain, just like this. And once you have that done, you're just going to continue on with your brioche stitch across the rest of the body of the wrap, and then you're going to work your decrease, your ribbing and your decrease at the end. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish working along my chain so that you guys can see what that looks like. And that is pretty much all we're doing, is that brioche stitch right along the chain. And like I said, it is a little tighter, so take your time getting through that right stitch. But once you get that worked, when you come back around, it'll be just like what we've been doing. It'll be all set up and ready to go. Okay, just going under there with that loop, back bump. almost all the way across. And this is just going to allow us to have, oops, I went through the wrong one. There it is. It's going to allow our arm to go through here and kind of lock the wrap in place after you drape it. So I really like that because it allows you to move around without worrying about it falling off and without having to purchase a shawl pin. Had to think about it for a minute. Okay, there we go. We have made it across. So now we're just gonna go ahead and work right into this next stitch. So we want to make sure we get this one as well, and then we can just work along the regular stitches that we have already established in the row. All right, so that's it. We've made it across. So this is what it's looking like. So your arm is just going to go right through there and make it a lot easy to wear. All right, so all you're going to do now is you're just going to finish your brioche stitch till you get to the last 11, because this is the decrease side. So the last 11, you're going to work your 9, and then you're going to decrease over the last 2, giving you the 10. I'm just going to keep working in pattern until the wrap is wide enough to wrap around you to meet this in front. Okay, and I know that it might seem a little small for a wrap, but that's because after you get to that point, we're going to start working some more decreases. All right, so go ahead and get to that point in your wrap, and I'm going to keep working on mine. And then once I get to that point, I will come back and show you how to continue on with decreasing in the wrap so that it gets to an even smaller and smaller point, and then we will continue on from there. All right, so just keep working in pattern until it wraps around your body one time, meeting the edge of this as if this were on, this is where at the center of your body and this is hanging on your arm. Then you'll need to measure that, I mean not measure it, but just try it on and make sure it closes at that center point. Okay. When you're working up to the length that you need, make sure you are ending on a row that you have just increased, so that when you turn, you're working back up to do the decrease in here. Okay, and once it wraps that far around, then meet me back and we will continue on to the next part. All right, I'll meet you back. This is what your wrap should be looking like so far. We have the armhole here, and then we have the length that we have been continuing on in pattern. So once you get it long enough, so I'm gonna just show you how to put it on and see if it's long enough to go to the next part. All right, so just make sure that part is in the front, and then you're just going to wrap it around yourself. And when it gets to this point here, this is when you want to come back to the video and start working your increases. So that is the next step I'm going to show you in just a moment. Okay, so once you get it to this point here, then you're ready to start working your decreases. Okay, so that is what it should be looking like so far. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I'll be back to show you the next step. All right, so I've got mine wrapped long enough, as you saw in the video. That is where I am now, and now we are ready to actually start decreasing the wrap. So we're going to continue working in pattern, but then we're going to add in some extra decreases. Okay, so if you want your wrap to be a little longer, you can just decrease one extra stitch If you want to decrease it, if you want it to decrease a little faster, then you can do 2 stitches. I'll show you how to do both, but I think I'm going to just decrease by 1 stitch at this point, and then because I have some more yarn to go, and then after I do that for a little while, I might switch over to decrease 2 stitches. But I'll show you how to do both now, and that way you can decide which one you would like to do at which point in your process of making this wrap. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue working. Normally we will go up to the 11th stitch when we're on a decrease. If we're decreasing 2 stitches, then you want to work up to 15 until there are 15 stitches left. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead really quickly and work up until I have 15 stitches till the end, and then I will be right back to show you what to do next. Alright, so I am working up to the decrease side of the wrap, and what I did was I left 15 stitches unworked, because what we're going to do now is we are keeping the bias pattern of the shawl, as well as decreasing the stitches in between the ribbing. Okay, so if you want to decrease very quickly, if you're satisfied with how long it is, and then you can do 2 decreases for each row that you come down to the decrease side. If you just wanted to go a little more slower, then you can just do 1 decrease. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do 2 decreases. If you're doing 2 decreases, you want to leave 15 stitches unworked. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the brioche stitch, but we're going to do 2 brioche stitches together in order to get the decrease that we're looking for. So we're going to work 2 brioche stitches together. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to insert our hook into that stitch just like our normal brioche stitch. So we're going to go right under there. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and go into our next stitch here. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2 this time. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pretend like we are on to our next brioche stitch. So we're going to go into this stitch now. So we're going to go under there. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and go into our next stitch. We're going to insert our hook there, yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, so we have now 6 loops on our hook, and we're just going to yarn over and pull through all of those. Okay, and that has brought us for 2 brioche stitches together. Okay, and then we are going to do that one more time, because this is a demonstration of how you would decrease 2 stitches on this row if you want to decrease a little faster. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and insert our hook into this stitch here. Okay, we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and go into our next stitch. This is starting off just as if you were doing a regular brioche stitch. Okay, we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, now we're going to yarn over and pull through just 2 instead of going through all of them. Okay, we're going to pretend like this is completely done, and we're going to proceed to do our next brioche stitch. Okay, so that means we're going under this loop here, or under this stitch here. So go under that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over. We're going to go into our next stitch here, insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 6 loops on our hook here, and now we're going to yarn over and pull through all of those, and that gives us 2 stitches decreased. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and work our regular decrease here. So we should have 11 stitches left. Let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. Okay, we have 11 stitches left as normal. All right, so now this is to keep the bias pattern in place. Okay, so now we're just going to do our regular ribbing, which is the half doubles in the third loop. So you want to work that over the first 9 stitches, and then you will have those 2 stitches left in which we will work together for our decrease to maintain the bias pattern of the wrap. Okay, so we are almost there, and now I have my last 2 stitches, so I'm going to go ahead and work those together. So go into that third loop, yarn over into the third loop, yarn over, and then we're just going to yarn over and go right into the next third loop, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all loops. Okay, so that was our decrease to maintain that bias look of the wrap. And then we're just going to turn, and we are going to go all the way back down and increase as normal, and then we'll come back and work our decreases here before we get to our ribbing. Now if you only wanted to do 1 decrease on this side here, which I'm going to do because I do have a little bit more yarn left, so I want to kind of stretch it out a little bit, and it's just going to transition a little slower for the decreases. What you would want to do is you're just going to work up until you get to 13 stitches left. Okay, so that was 15, so now I just need to work 2 more stitches in the brioche. Okay, and now I have 13 stitches left, so now I'm just going to do the decrease over these 2 stitches right before the ribbing, and then I'll do the decrease as I just showed you here at the last 2 stitches to maintain that bias look. Okay, but this decrease here is going to decrease the number of stitches in between the ribbing that we have, and that is just going to bring the wrap to like a point. Okay, and that's going to be important for how we style the wrap and how we wear it. We do want it to come to a point, and that is just how we're styling and wearing it. So if you feel like if you're using a different kind of yarn and maybe you've already made it wide enough and you feel like you want to decrease a little faster, then you can go ahead and work the 2 decreases together. If not, and you want it to stretch a little longer, then you can do the 1 decrease. This is how you do the 1 decrease. All right, so I'm just going to work until I have the 13 stitches. We're going to decrease over the next 2. So we're just going to go and do our brioche stitch as normal. So we're going to start off here, and then we're going to yarn over and then go into the next stitch, insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to go through just 2 of those loops. Then we're going to go right into this space here, just as if we were doing our next brioche stitch. And then we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 6. Okay, now we have made our decrease just over those 2 stitches, which means we have decreased the total number of stitches here in between by 1. Okay, so that is going to decrease a little bit slower than if you were to do the 2 stitches as I showed the first time. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and work the ribbing and then decrease at the last 2 stitches, and that way I can maintain the bias pattern that we have been maintaining throughout. And then I will turn and work the increase. Now the increase row is worked exactly the same as we've already been doing. We're not adding any extra increases, so all we're doing is just maintaining that increase row as we have before. The only difference is in the decrease row. Okay, so now ready to decrease there, chain 1 and turn. All right, and then you're just going to follow that same pattern for as long as you want, and then once you see these stitches come closer together, I'll probably leave about 5 or so stitches in between the ribbing that I have on mine, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. I'm not for sure how many stitches I'll leave between here. That's totally up to you. You could even decrease the ribbing if you wanted to just have one side, but I'm not for sure how that would look because I haven't done that yet. So that's totally up to you. But I am going to continue this pattern, so I'm going to work the increase row as normal, chain one and turn, come back to decrease side, and then I'll just decrease that one stitch before the ribbing, which means I'm going to work until I have 13 stitches left, okay, before I get to the end. All right, you need the 11 stitches for the ribbing, and the 2 stitches will be here for the decrease. If you want to do 2 stitches as a decrease, you're going to work to the last 15 stitches, and then 11 of those stitches will be for the ribbing, and then you'll have 4 stitches to work those 2 decreases over. All right, so that is what we are going to do until we have decreased all of these but 5 stitches in between the ribbing. So once we get to that point, then I will come back and show you how to finish off the wrap. All right, everyone, go ahead and maintain the pattern, and I will meet you back. All right, everyone, I made it back. So I finished my decreases in about the last I guess it would be 30 rows, because I decreased every other row. So about the last rows here is when I actually switched over from doing 1 decrease to 2 decrease, or yeah, here's where I did 1, and here's where I started doing 2, just to decrease it a little bit faster because I started to run out of yarn. So I have 8 stitches in between the ribbing, and that is where I stopped decreasing. So I went ahead and cut my yarn and finished off there. So that is as small as mine is going to be at the end. If you wanted to decrease more, if you had more yarn and you wanted to decrease more stitches, that is perfectly fine. I do like it where there are some stitches in between the ribbing, but it's totally up to you and what you want to do with your wrap. All right, so that is where I'm going to go ahead and end off the tutorial. Hopefully everything was explained well enough. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to answer. Also, I will post the length of the wrap, the total wrap, as well as the width at the widest point, and then the width at the narrowest point. And that way you guys can get a better picture of what it looks like. I'm also going to go ahead and try it on and show you how to wrap it around and how to wear it. But with it being a wrap, you can definitely play around with it and discover new ways that you might like to wear it as well. So please stay tuned for the next part where I'm going to go ahead and try it on and show you how to wrap it and also what it looks like on and the finished item. Okay, so stay tuned for that, and I'll be right back. All right, everyone, so we have made it to the end of the tutorial, and this is where we started here, and then we made the armhole here for the arm slit, and then we just continued on to like the body of the wrap, and then we started to decrease. And then we started to decrease. So this is what the wrap is looking like. Very, very beautiful, and very, very easy to work up, right? All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how I meant for it to be worn. Of course, as this is your own piece, you can decide how you would like to wear it. Go ahead and explore and try different ways to wear this beautiful piece. All right, so I was intending on having the armhole as a way of kind of locking the wrap in place, and that way you can go about your day and move around, be on the go, and you're still warm, stylish, and you don't have to adjust over and over again. Okay, so this is what I am. This is how I intended it to be worn. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to take the small end, or where we have decrease. All right, and you're just going to lay that over one shoulder. Okay, and it's going to drape over your arm like that. And then you are going to, you might have to adjust it a little bit just to know about where it should lay on you. So once you have done that, you're going to take the rest of it and wrap it around the front of you, and then kind of toss the rest to the back behind you. And then, oops. So once you have it tossed to the side, then what you're going to do is you're just going to bring it around, and you're going to lock it in place with the armhole, just like that. Now this should come down. Once you have it where you want it to go, you're definitely going to have to adjust a little bit. But once you have it where you want it, it shouldn't really move too much on you. And that is kind of like the whole idea behind the design. So that is now locked in place, and I can move around. I can continue adjusting it, but it kind of creates like a little sleeve on this side, and it's, you know, wrapped around as much as on this side. So I really like that design feature and idea. And then you just have the end draping down, so if you don't want it draping down too long, then you don't have to continue making it as long, and maybe you want to decrease a little faster when we do those decreases. So instead of maybe doing one decrease, you do the two that I showed in the tutorial, and then that'll cut the length down on it. And because all this is doing is just kind of draping down to the side, but I do like that design element as well. And this is what the side looks like on that side, and this side here. So I think it is really gorgeous, and definitely something that I will be wearing quite often in the spring and fall, and any cool days. Probably be good for the summer evenings too. And if you made it in a lighter weight yarn, you can definitely wear this in the summer as well, because sometimes the evenings do get a little chilly, and this would definitely be a stylish way to keep warm, right? Alright everyone, so I know I'm cut off, but there I am. So I really like this Vivian Wrap. So if you like it too, please go ahead and leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you made one, or if you plan on making one in the near future. Alright everyone, so please remember to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and leave me those comments below, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.